Now let us analyze the amount of profanity that each of these comedians have spoken in their shows. Let us look at the most common word first again. So I will give the title first. We are checking the amount of profanity, which means bad words each of these comedians have spoken at their shows. Now let us go down and let us revisit our common word again. If you remember, we use this counter to count the frequency of the words, and we can call this most common function to it. Then you can see all the words that has been commonly spoken by each of these comedians. Now I'll go down, and here we are going to start to create a model which will isolate just a bad word from here, just a bad word that has been spoken by the comedians. So I'll say data bad words. I'll create a list, in fact. So from the data, I'm going to transpose, I'm going to extract only those words that are, let's say, F word, and that are next F word. Since we are not using the stemming and lemmatization, we need both of these words. So these are our bad words, and this word might be used by the comedians, so we create a list of it. And now I'm going to create an object containing a profanity, and I'm going to concat. What I'm going to concat here? I'm going to concat every bad word that has been just taken or spoken by the comedian into this data profanity by all of the comedians. So I'm going to create, let's say, two lists. In the one list, I will create a F word columns, and in the next column I will have the yes word. So for that, I will, let's say, create a list comprehension, and data bad words, I'm going to get the words that is related to F, and data bad words, similarly we have the second word, that is this one. So we are checking this entirely on our transcript, and data bad words dot, that is yes word, and I'm going to just have them aligned in the column side, so axis should be 1. So this is the data profanity. Now let us go down. You should execute it or run it. After you run those code, next thing is, if I just run this data profanity, then you will see that we have these things where you can see the words that has been spoken, and in fact the first word that has been spoken will be right here. So amount of profanity that each of them has spoken is right here. So I can also, in fact, give the column names for them. So columns is the first F word and next yes word. So there was only one single column, rather I want to make two different columns for it. So concat. So while concating, I have data bad words and data bad words for them. So here, in the case of F word, I want these things like these two words into the one column and the yes word into the next column. So that means I have to give this comma here. I want to make two columns. For the F word, I want to make one column, and for yes word, I want to make the another column. So let us run it. Let us now give the columns name. Now everything looks fine. I will go down and I will run the data profanity. Then you will see that Ali has spoken 16 F word and Ali has spoken 34 yes word. All of these has been just displayed here. The most F and S word that has been spoken is Joe. You can clearly see Mike doesn't have spoken any F word for this transcript. We can clearly see the amount of profanity each of these comedian has spoken. Now, what we can also do next is, let's say I want to create a plot for these values. For this F word and S word, I want to create a two-dimensional plot in order to make the visualization better. So for that, let us create, let's say, scatter plot. Since this is the numerical values and we have two-dimension plot, so that means I can make a scatter plot for representing each of these comedians that has spoken these words. So I will loop around my words and extract the comedian. So data profanity. What is data profanity? It is right, this data frame is a data profanity. So here, okay, I can just call enumerate and pass data profanity dot index. So basically I am going to just loop around these comedians one by one. Now I am going to get the X part, which is data profanity, and what is the F part? F part is this F word. So that column is the F word. So F word and get the location, and I want of Ali, let's say at first. Then I have to pass here comedian because I want to extract the F word one by one for each of these comedian, and I will keep it in X. Let us do Y for the same thing. So Y will be our S word. So F word is our X axis, and S word, now just convert F to S. So S word, this column will be our Y axis. Now I can simply call this PLT scatter. We have already imported the matplotlib. If you remember, while creating these word clouds, we have imported the plot. So I can just call this matplotlib for me to render the scatter plot. I'll pass X and Y, and let's say color I want to give blue to each of these points on the scatter plot. And you can give the title maybe X label, Y label, but for now let us stick with this simple plot. I'll just show this plot. Let us render it. We got an error saying yes word has no attribute. So I can go up and let's say I change this yes word. So I'll just make it as yes word, yes underscore word. Let us run this one more time. Now it has been changed to F word and S word. Now I will make it as yes underscore word. If I run it, I got an error saying has no property call. So call here is the caller, so it should be caller, not call. So let us run one more time, then everything looks fine. You can see this is the plot, and here one of the thing that is missing is the name of each of these points. So each of these points represent one comedian, and the name for it is missing, so that is very hard to know which of the point represents which comedian. So let us give the name for each of these point. So I can use the text function, and I will just pass the position from X position, and I don't want my text to be rendered within here, maybe a little bit above these points. So I'm giving a little bit above position to render the text. So this will be my position where I want to render my text X and Y. Now let us give the names. If you remember, I have created this names I, maybe somewhere above right here, this names. So names will be given. Names represents the name of each of the comedians, and then I can give the font size that I want. I want the font size of 10. Let us render it now again, and you can see all of their names has been rendered. So the X is, I can also give the label so that I can find the label to it. So I'll say X label is number of F words spoken by comedians, and I can say Y label is number of yes words. Let us run it one more time. So you can see now this x-axis represents number of words that is related to F word, and y-axis is number of yes word. Now you can see Joe has spoken number of F word the most, and the Bill is speaking basically all the words, like he is speaking the F word also, he is speaking the yes word maximum also. So this horizontal distance represents the F word distance, and this represents the yes word. The least that has spoken is by Mike, and you can see some of these portion here. They have average speaking the F word and yes word. These three comedians are speaking, that is F word and yes word, very much heavily. You can see the Jim has spoken like around 100 to 120, maybe 110, that is F word, and he has spoken nearly about 20 yes word. So F word and yes word are those profanity word, like these words. So F word are these two words, and yes word is this one. So we have seen which comedian has spoken maximum of F word and yes word through visualization also. Now this is one of the analysis that we can do during our EDA process, and this is the textual analysis. In the case of textual analysis, it depends upon the situation what you need to analyze. So in our text we can analyze so many things, like we can see what are the frequent word that has been spoken, which we did through the word cloud here, and similarly we saw what are the amount of bad words that has been spoken by each of these comedians, and we can see the list here, the list of the words that has been spoken by each of this comedian. The F word is this one, yes word is this one, and we also plot the graph in order to visualize through the graph. So that is all in this process of EDA. From next video onward, we will be discussing about sentimental analysis.